wants to see him go to heavyweight. And when we were talking to him tonight, he doesn't give a shit. He said, I'll fight at heavyweight. I'll fight wherever you want, whenever you want. He's ready to turn around and wants to fight again right away. So he's that guy. He's a savage, man. The guy's an absolute stud. And not to mention the fact that he's a smart guy and realizes time isn't your friend in this game. And get in there, accomplish as many great things as you can. Like you guys were saying, whoever said it earlier, look at what a huge star he's become in such a short amount of time, because people in the fight business love guys who want to fight, love guys who want to finish, love guys who want to compete. As a fight fan, he's like the ideal fighter that you would follow and become a fan of.
Okay, wait.
Don't touch.
Don't touch.
It's a featherweight.
242.4. Heavyweight.
Chama.
242.4. Alex Pereira.
Chama. Cara pesado.
When you look at the challenges ahead, the contenders that are waiting to come and challenge you for that belt, what is the one that makes the most sense for you?
Ainda ninguém na minha mente. Eu falei aqui, eu queria ir fazer a luta no peso pesado, desafio maior, era isso.
No one in mind yet. You know, as I said, I want to have a bigger challenge at heavyweight, and that's basically it.
But realistically, he's done it all. He knocked out Magomed Ankalaev in 69, 59 seconds, whatever it was. He smoked him. It was very, very fast, okay? And the man is gigantic, and he's not getting any younger. And of course, we have the whole situation with Tom Aspinall. Now, you might have seen this post that was doing the rounds recently, okay? A couple of days ago, I saw something. It was very alarming. People all over Twitter, Josh Thompson was one of them. So I thought there was some credibility to this. They said,
Alex Pereira just shattered the entire heavyweight division with one announcement. And Tom Aspinall's about to find out what real championship pressure feels like.
With Cyril Gone, where he did get eye poked, and it wasn't his fault. It really wasn't. He shouldn't be getting any shit or any blame here. But he is, which is just weird, right?
The reports are out that UFC asked Tom Aspinall to vacate the title until he was ready to go. And he said he'd be willing to vacate the title as long as they released him. Now, that opens the door so he can go ahead and box.
But he just had surgery, okay? And he isn't going to be fighting anytime soon. And when they said they went to Tom and asked him to vacate...
Here's what nobody else is telling you about this move. Pereira isn't just jumping weight classes. He's declaring psychological warfare on the biggest, baddest division in the sport. This is a man who literally tortured his body for years, cutting down to 205 pounds, dehydrating himself to the point of near collapse, just to make weight at light heavyweight. Now imagine that same killer instinct, that same ruthless precision, but without the soul-crushing weight cuts draining his power. We're talking about a completely unleashed Alex Pereira, and he's coming straight for Aspinall's throne. No warm-up fights, no working his way up the rankings. He wants the belt, and he wants it now. But here's where this gets absolutely wild. The UFC brass is salivating over this matchup because they know what we're all thinking. Can a natural light heavyweight really hang with the giants? Can surgical striking overcome raw heavyweight power? The answer to that question is about to make or break Pereira's entire legacy.
Whilst the division moves on, and when you're ready to come back, you fight for the belt straight away. And the rumor was that he said, I'll do that as long as you release me from my contract so I can go and box, right? And everyone was saying, oh, this is really happening. Turns out it's not. It's bullshit, okay?
This is #1 bullshit.
Tom's waiting to make his comeback. He's still very much the heavyweight champion of the world. The third champion to come from England. Shout out Big Tom. And I'm looking forward to the comeback. Now, because of that, that's when Alex Pereira comes into the fold and he says 1, 2, 3 and go, right?
But let's talk about what this does to Tom Aspinall's head right now. Picture this scenario. You're sitting at the top of the heavyweight mountain, interim belt around your waist, waiting for your shot at John Jones. Then out of nowhere, this two-division monster announces he's coming for you specifically. Not just moving up to heavyweight, not just testing the waters, he's targeting you. That's the kind of pressure that keeps fighters awake at night, because Aspinall knows exactly what Pereira brings to the table. This isn't some overhyped prospect or aging veteran looking for one last payday. This is a proven championship-level killer who's already conquered 2 divisions, and now he's got his sights set on making history. The mental warfare has already begun, and Pereira fired the first shot without even stepping into the octagon.
$7 billion. They want spectacles. They want fights like the White House. They want John Jones versus Alex Pereira. Or, as I always said, Alex Pereira versus Cyril Gane for an interim title. Now, I don't know what's going on with the whole stuff with Tom. Apparently he came out and he said, I'm still very much the champion. That's great to hear. Do not walk away from this sport, Tom. Do not let the fans get to you.
Now here's what makes this move so brilliant and so dangerous at the same time. Pereira's striking is absolutely elite. His left hook has ended careers. His timing is surgical. His fight IQ is off the charts, but heavyweight is a completely different beast. These aren't light heavyweights who have cut weight. These are naturally massive human beings who hit like freight trains and can absorb punishment that would flatten smaller fighters. When Aspinall connects cleanly, people go to sleep. Period. The size difference alone changes everything about how this fight plays out. Pereira is going to be giving up 30, maybe 40 pounds to some of these heavyweights. That's not just a number on a scale. That's bone density, muscle mass, and raw power that can't be replicated through technique alone. So the question becomes, can Pereira's precision overcome Aspinall's natural heavyweight advantages? Because if he gets caught clean by someone that size, all the striking technique in the world won't save him.
But the fans of mixed martial arts, just like any sport, they're very fickle, okay? Right? Love you all, by the way. Now, here is what Tom posted recently, and I just want to talk about this quickly. He said, I love mixed martial arts. I'll never stop loving it, but I just hate the business. I think that fighters are completely replaceable.
Here's where Dana White's business genius comes into play, and trust me, he's already counting the pay-per-view buys. This matchup writes itself from a promotional standpoint. You've got Pereira, the striking specialist who's never met a challenge he wouldn't take, going up against Aspinall, the complete heavyweight who represents everything dangerous about that division. It's David versus Goliath with championship implications. The storylines are endless. But White knows something else that casual fans might miss. This fight isn't just about who wins or loses. It's about what happens to the heavyweight division's hierarchy. If Pereira wins, he becomes the most dangerous man in 3 weight classes. If Aspinall wins, he proves that natural size and heavyweight power still matter more than technique and heart. Either way, the entire landscape of the division changes forever. And that uncertainty, that unpredictability, is exactly what drives pay-per-view numbers through the roof.
You do feel like the whole world has turned on you, and certainly when he wasn't the person at fault, he wasn't. But this is the world that we live in. It just is. The show must go on. I went through multiple eye surgeries. I wasn't in constant communication with the UFC. They weren't calling on me and checking on me. The only time I got a phone call off Dana White was when he called me, and I'm not talking shit, by the way. They got a business to run. They got a worldwide massive corporation to run, putting on the best fights on the planet, okay? And if someone gets hurt, well, then that's a real...
But here's the kicker that nobody's talking about. Pereira's chin has been tested, but never by true heavyweight power. Think about the difference between absorbing shots from a 205-pound fighter versus a 250-pound monster who's been knocking people unconscious his entire career. The physics alone are terrifying. When Aspinall throws that overhand right, it's carrying 40 pounds more mass behind it than anything Pereira's ever faced. That's not just more power. That's a completely different level of violence. And here's what's really scary for Pereira. At light heavyweight, he could rely on his cardio and his ability to maintain his pace for 5 rounds. But carrying that extra weight, absorbing those heavier shots, dealing with the increased muscle mass of heavyweight grapplers, all of that takes a toll. His legendary conditioning might not translate the same way when he's dealing with the physical demands of fighting naturally bigger men.
And in the world of boxing, people die. I talk about that all the time. The sport of boxing still moves on. If you get hurt at work and you can't do your job on a Monday morning, the business still continues. The factory still goes on. The milk still gets delivered. The cow still gets slaughtered, right? Whatever it is, Amazon drivers are still making the deliveries. Just because John, your usual driver, twists his ankle and can't go to work, the show still goes on. I am not being unsympathetic.
You hear the show goes on.
Get this, though? The psychological aspect of this announcement is already working in Pereira's favor. Every heavyweight on the roster just got put on notice that there's a new predator in their division. Someone who's not intimidated by their size or their power. Someone who's already proven he can handle championship pressure at the highest level. That confidence, that championship mentality, it's contagious and terrifying at the same time. When you step into the octagon with Alex Pereira, you're not just fighting a skilled striker. You're fighting someone who genuinely believes he's destined to make history. That kind of self-belief can break opponents before the fight even starts. But here's what's fascinating about the Aspinall matchup specifically. Tom's not some aging veteran or unproven prospect who might get overwhelmed by the moment. He's a legitimate, dangerous heavyweight who's been finishing people with both strikes and submissions. So when these two finally meet, it's going to be a clash of not just physical skills, but mental fortitude.
About Alex Pereira, if he isn't fighting anytime soon, and it certainly doesn't look like he's fighting anytime soon, then this 1, 2, 3 and go from Alex Pereira.
You thought...
And let me tell you something about the technical aspects that make this fight so intriguing. Pereira's striking is built around distance management, timing, and precision. He's a master at finding that perfect range where he can land clean shots while staying out of danger. But heavyweight changes those calculations completely. Aspinall's reach, his speed for a big man, his ability to close distance and get into grappling range, all of that presents problems Pereira's never had to solve before. We're talking about a fundamental shift in fight strategy. At light heavyweight, Pereira could rely on his footwork and angles to create the perfect striking opportunities. Against a skilled heavyweight like Aspinall, those windows might be smaller, and the consequences of missing them are potentially catastrophic. This isn't just about landing the perfect left hook anymore. It's about surviving in an environment where every exchange could be your last.
Out of his ass. Remember, he said that he got hacked recently. There was someone else recently as well saying they get hacked. It kind of drives me crazy. Anytime someone puts something on Twitter or Instagram or whatever, and then they get a little bit of backlash.
Now listen to this part, because it reveals everything about Pereira's mindset. He's not taking this fight because he needs the money or because he's running out of options. He's taking it because he genuinely believes he can win, and more importantly, because he wants to cement a legacy that nobody can ever question. Think about what three-division champion means in the modern era of MMA. It's not just about collecting belts. It's about proving that skill, determination, and fight IQ can overcome any physical disadvantage. But here's the brutal reality check. The heavyweight division has humbled plenty of legends who thought they could just walk in and dominate. The margin for error is smaller, the consequences are more severe, and the physical toll is unlike anything he's experienced. So this becomes the ultimate test of everything Pereira believes about himself as a fighter.
Pereira has said the same thing in the past, and maybe he'll say the same thing about this. But going back to what I say, Alex Pereira deserves a third shot at the belt. If Tom is on the sidelines right now, and John Jones is actually retired because of all the arthritis in his hips, right? If he is walking away, right, then he is, Alex Pereira, the next guy, the most logical guy. He's done it all at light heavyweight. There isn't really anyone there for him anyway. Yeah, of course, Khalil Roundtree wants another pop. Of course, Yuri Prohashka cried his eyes out just at seeing.
Here's what's really going to determine the outcome of this fight, and it's something most people aren't considering. Pereira's entire fighting style has been built around the weight cuts and the physical demands of making 205 pounds. His training, his conditioning, his recovery, everything has been optimized for light heavyweight. Now he's got to completely restructure his approach to fighting. He needs to build more muscle mass to compete with natural heavyweights, but not so much that it affects his speed and cardio. He needs to adjust his striking angles and distance management for bigger opponents, but maintain the precision that made him champion. Most importantly, he needs to develop a ground game that can handle heavyweight grapplers who outweigh him significantly. That's not just a physical adjustment. That's a complete reinvention of himself as a fighter. And he's trying to do all of this while targeting the most dangerous man in the division.
Yu is one of my favourite fighters, okay? But he has been beaten twice, and realistically, at light heavyweight, Pereira's done it all. And the man is gigantic for 205. He would probably walk around 240 pounds. He could put a bit of muscle on, walk around at 250, and go knock the out of almost everyone at light heavyweight.
Alex Pereira.
But wait, it gets even more complicated when you factor in the John Jones situation. Because let's be honest, everyone knows Jones is the real heavyweight champion, and whoever wins between Pereira and Aspinall is likely getting the winner of Jones versus Stipe Miocic. So Pereira isn't just fighting for Aspinall's interim belt. He's positioning himself for a potential super fight with the greatest mixed martial artist of all time. Can you imagine the pressure of that scenario? Beating Aspinall would be impressive enough, but then having to face John Jones, who's already proven he can dominate at heavyweight. That's the kind of mountain that breaks lesser fighters just thinking about it. But here's what makes Pereira different. He thrives under that kind of pressure. The bigger the stage, the more impossible the odds, the better he performs. So maybe, just maybe, that's exactly the kind of challenge he needs to reach another level.
All over the place, but you know, he's very light on the feet, you know, and he's very French, and he's got the flair, and he's got the ballet, and he's got the he's got the punch you in the face. I don't know what I'm doing, okay, I've lost the plot. I've been sitting here by myself in this room, losing my goddamn mind, because Alex Pereira is gonna fight for a third belt, the only person to ever do it. That will mean he is, by far, the most successful person to ever step foot in the UFC's hallowed octagon. What do you think? Am I crazy? Am I talking out of my arse? How do you feel about Tom? And if you're watching this, Tom, just ignore all the shit online.
Hold up, though, because there's something nobody's talking about regarding the business side of this move. Pereira's star power is undeniable, but his drawing power at heavyweight is still unproven. Light heavyweight and middleweight fans love him, but heavyweight has its own audience, its own expectations. If he comes in and gets dominated by the size and power difference, it doesn't just hurt his legacy. It potentially damages his marketability for future fights. Dana White's gambling that Pereira's striking skills and championship pedigree will translate to heavyweight success. But if it doesn't, they're left with a former two-division champion who might struggle to get back to title contention in any weight class. That's a massive risk for everyone involved. But here's why it might be worth it. If Pereira succeeds, if he actually becomes a three-division champion, the promotional possibilities are endless. Super fights, legacy fights, cross-promotional opportunities, all of it becomes available.
Of greatness that you have. They could never dream about it, so they talk shit online. Just ignore all them. They don't matter. But Alex Pereira, right? In the meantime, if Tom is on the sidelines for a while, which it looks like it is, in the meantime, there's an opportunity for Alex Pereira. Would it be Cyril Gane? It would have to be Cyril Gane. Cyril Gane was fighting for the belt against Tom. Yes, he poked him in the eye. Yes, he was the person that committed the foul. And yes, he might be the guy that gets rewarded with another major title fight, right?
You're witnessing history.
Here's the reality that Aspinall's dealing with right now, and it's probably eating at him every single day. He's worked his entire career to get to this position, to be recognized as the best heavyweight in the world. Now, just when he's about to get his moment, this legend from 2 divisions below announces he's coming for his belt specifically. That's not just disrespectful. That's psychological warfare at its finest. Because Aspinall knows that if he loses to Pereira, it's not just a loss. It's a career-defining moment that proves he wasn't ready for the spotlight. But if he wins, some people will say he only beat a smaller man who didn't belong at heavyweight anyway. It's a no-win situation from a legacy standpoint, and that kind of mental pressure can affect everything from training camp to fight night performance.
Living, right? It's not a fair world sometimes, okay? And some people might think that's crazy, but as I said before, the show still goes on. What do you think about everything that I just said? Do you think Alex Pereira will be fighting for a third belt, or am I 1, 2, 3 times out of my goddamn mind? Thanks for watching. Subscribe, ring the bell. The dog's barking. It's time to wrap this video up. Shut up, Ford!
You think...
And get this, the technical breakdown of how this fight might play out is fascinating from a pure martial arts perspective. Pereira is going to try to keep it standing, use his footwork and striking precision to pick Aspinall apart from distance. But Aspinall's not going to just stand there and trade shots. He's going to use his wrestling, his clinch work, his ability to get the fight to the ground where his size advantage becomes even more pronounced. So Pereira needs to develop takedown defense specifically designed for heavyweight grapplers, which is completely different from defending takedowns at light heavyweight. The leverage is different, the power behind the shots is different, and the consequences of ending up on your back are more severe. This becomes a chess match between Pereira's striking expertise and Aspinall's complete mixed martial arts skill set, played out at the highest level of the sport. Now here's where it gets absolutely insane from a historical perspective. If Pereira actually pulls this off, if he becomes a 3-division champion by beating legitimate contenders at heavyweight, he's not just making history. He's rewriting what's possible in modern MMA. Think about the physical and mental barriers he'd have to overcome. The size disadvantage, the power difference, the completely different fighting dynamics of heavyweight competition. Success at that level would prove that skill, intelligence, and determination can overcome almost any natural disadvantage. But failure would be equally significant. It would prove that there are limits to what technique and heart can accomplish when facing superior physical attributes. Either way, we're about to witness something that will be talked about for decades. So here's where we stand, and honestly, it's one of the most compelling storylines in combat sports right now. Alex Pereira, the 2-division champion who's never backed down from a challenge, is targeting Tom Aspinall's heavyweight belt in what could be the defining moment of both their careers. The size difference is real, the power gap is significant, and the technical adjustments required are massive. But Pereira's proven that he performs best when everyone doubts him, when the odds seem impossible, when the pressure is at its highest. This isn't just about another belt or another payday. This is about cementing a legacy that transcends weight classes and redefines what's possible in mixed martial arts. The psychological warfare has already begun, the stakes couldn't be higher, and the entire heavyweight division is about to find out what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. So here's my question for you, drop it in the comments. Do you think Pereira's striking precision can overcome Aspinall's natural heavyweight advantages? Or is this the fight that finally exposes the limits of technique versus raw physical power? If this breakdown helped you understand what's really at stake in this potential super fight, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell because this heavyweight situation is about to get even crazier. I'll see you in the next one. But before you go, let me hit you with something that's going to blow your mind about this whole situation. While everyone's focused on the Pereira versus Aspinall matchup, there's a domino effect happening behind the scenes that nobody's talking about. Francis Ngannou's departure from the UFC suddenly makes way more sense now, doesn't it? Dana White knew he needed a new heavyweight superstar, someone who could generate the same kind of buzz and pay-per-view numbers that Francis brought to the table. And who better than a proven champion from another division, who's willing to take on impossible challenges? Here's the chess move that White's really making, and it's absolutely brilliant from a business perspective. He's not just booking one fight. He's potentially setting up years of heavyweight content. Think about it. If Pereira beats Aspinall, you've got the John Jones super fight that writes itself. If Aspinall wins, you've got a dominant heavyweight champion who just proved he can handle any challenger from any weight class. Either scenario creates multiple money fights and storylines that can carry the division for the next 2 years. But here's the kicker that makes this even more genius. White's also sending a message to every other division. You want to be a real champion? You want to be mentioned with the legends? Then you better be willing to take the kind of risks that Pereira's taking right now. And let's talk about what this means for the other heavyweight contenders who have been grinding their way up the rankings. Guys like Curtis Blades, Sergey Pavlovich, and Cyril Gain just watched their title shot opportunities potentially get leapfrogged by someone who's never fought at heavyweight. That's the kind of move that creates enemies and allies in equal measure. Some of these heavyweights are probably hoping Aspinall destroys Pereira just to prove that you can't skip the line in their division. Others are probably taking notes, wondering if they should have been more aggressive about calling out champions from other weight classes. The entire heavyweight hierarchy just got turned upside down by one announcement. But here's what's really fascinating about Pereira's psychology, and this is something that separates champions from contenders. Most fighters, when they reach the top of 2 divisions, would be satisfied. They defend their belts, make their money, and protect their legacy. Pereira's doing the exact opposite. He's risking everything he's built for a chance at something that might be impossible. That's not just confidence. That's the mindset of someone who's genuinely addicted to proving people wrong. Remember, this is the same guy who moved from kickboxing to MMA and became champion. The same guy who knocked out Israel Adesanya when everyone said it couldn't happen in MMA. Now he's doing it again, but with even higher stakes. Here's the technical adjustment that could make or break this entire plan, and it's something most casual fans don't understand. Pereira's entire striking game has been built around fighting southpaws and orthodox fighters who move and react like middleweights and light heavyweights. Heavyweight movement is completely different. These guys don't bounce around the octagon. They plant their feet, they load up on power shots, and they use their size to cut off angles. So Pereira's footwork patterns, his timing, his distance management, all of it needs to be recalibrated for opponents who fight like Aspinall. That's not just a minor adjustment. That's like learning a new language while trying to become fluent enough to teach it to others.